Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet.
Welcome to the Sex Podcast with your host, Andra, with a topic about sex. It's from the point of view of an older woman. Today's going to talk about how to be more present during sex. You know, sometimes we are focused on it, whether it be with a partner or by ourselves. So, and we're really much thinking about it and want to have that orgasm, which is not in the moment. There isn't any single reason why someone just can't focus during sex. But, there are a few possibilities, like overthinking it. I mean, it could be someone's first time and you've heard all this stuff from your friends who have had sex. So you're overthinking what it's supposed to be like for you. Is it going to hurt? Is it going to be, this? Can I actually have that orgasm? Just, am I going to get pregnant? Am I going to get an STD, sexually transmitted disease? You're thinking a lot about it, that your body and your mind are not with the act. And you're trying really hard, but it's just not working. Then there's the opposite end of that spectrum, where you're underthinking it. You're not thinking about that in the moment right there while you're in sex and having pleasure and enjoying yourself, because there are a million other things going on in your brain. And unfortunately, some people just cannot slow that down because their minds are constantly thinking. So it makes it very difficult when trying to pay attention in sex and focus on the pleasure that you can experience. Outside distractions. You're wondering about the things in the environment. Say, well, all the kids are out, they're at school, or they're at friends, or whatever the case may be. Or you hear something outside, like the police go by. Your mind immediately, your body, tenses up when you hear these things, because your focus is on that, the environment, not the fact that you are actually in, having sex and enjoying your partner. And that can be a little frustrating. If you have your phone on and you don't turn it on to vibrate, or silent for that matter, and all the notifications are going off in the background, and your mind just hears this, and the thought process is, okay, is there emergency? What is that? I'm waiting for a phone call. Other things, you're afraid someone's going to come in the room, especially if you get small children and they're at home and you think they're still sleeping. In the middle of the night, you figure you and your partner can have a little bit of fun. And all of a sudden there's a knock on the door. Mommy, Daddy, I had a nightmare. There are a lot of things. I mean, even the animal in the house could be a problem with that one. The barking, the cat scratching, or they just come into the room and I know a lot of people, I mean, there are those people who don't like pets, but Your partner may have had a pet if you're first meeting up with them, and you go over there and you're just going to have sex, and there's a dog sitting at the end of the bed or just sitting there staring at you. It's very distracting. Some people get bored, and this is because, say, your partner is doing something, but it's not doing much for you. It could be the same routine, hasn't spiced up the bedroom, so you're just basically there. You're just a pawn in the bed. That's all. You're just there. Let him do what he's going to do, and get on with it. It'll be over soon. You're focusing on others. Your focus is more on your partner and making sure your partner is getting pleasured and getting the most out of the sexual act, but you're not. So you're so focused on that, you're not focused on how you can contribute your feelings to the, or your body, or how you're supposed to feel, to that orgasm, because you're not concentrating on you, you're concentrating on your partner. And this, women are more to think about what's going on around them, while men are so focused in on pleasuring the woman and getting them to orgasm. But see, the thing with men is, they're always into the sex because they're driven differently for sex than women are. So you got to get a balance in there, because pretty soon you're not going to, if you're always having that feeling of pleasuring your partner all the time and not being able to pleasure yourself, you are going to, sex is always going to be out of focus, become unbalanced, and you're going to get to the point where you don't like having sex with that individual. We don't want to do that now, do we? Some people get lost in a fantasy. The fantasy that you and your partner decide to act out, you may be enjoying it so much that you get lost in it, that you get other things or other activities, scenarios, you get lost in that. And believe it or not, that's pretty normal, because that's what a fantasy is for you and your partner to forget about the real life. But then if you go too far, you're forgetting to attend to things in your life, in the real life. And you're just dealing with, this should be, it goes into the bedroom, you're out acting out that fantasy. And then once that fantasy is done for that moment, break down out of that fantasy in the way that you want it to end. And then go back to real life, because once you leave it, you do have to come back to what's going on. And it happens. It's part of nature. Performance anxiety. I've seen this happen. Or you've heard of it, you've had it yourself, where you are, it's the first time, and this usually generally always is either during the first time you're going to have sex with your partner, or that you fantasized about it so much outside of the bedroom that when you get in the bedroom and it comes down to that act that you're talking about, it comes down to that sex and you're constantly working it up, that you get in there and all of a sudden you find out you can't actually do it, because your mind's there, but the rest of it, something about that other person might be, oh my goodness. I mean, the best way to look at it is, some men will constantly be thinking about having sex with a particular, with a partner, and you get there. This, sometimes it usually is with new relationships, and then you get to that point in your relationship where you're gonna have sex. And you get there, and she's waiting for you, or he's waiting for you, and then all of a sudden you can't. You're like, you worked yourself up so much that you're unable to enjoy the act. So, body image. Body image is another one where someone has body image issues. Some people like to have the lights off so that their partner can't see what their body looks like because they're so self-conscious about their body. Now that person's with you because they like you, they love you, they want you. So obviously they've accepted every part of you in your body. But it makes you more anxious. It builds anxiety because you're so worried about what they're thinking about your body. We've been brought up in a world where our bodies are supposed to look a certain way. And, prime example is the Barbie doll. We were brought up to believe as women that all us women are supposed to look like her, but we all don't. So when it comes to sex, we'll hide. And it's really bad because you're not exactly enjoying your partner to the fullest. We're going to take a break here. And when we come back, we'll finish up how to focus on sex. The mind to the body.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Welcome back to the Sex Podcast, as promised, with your host, Andra, where the topic is about sex. It's from the point of view of an older woman. Now, in the first segment, we were going over distractions in sex. Things can take us away from our presence during sex and where our minds are and everything. It's just one of those things. It happens to all of us. The last topic was, performance anxiety. And we're going to go on to the next one. Now we're on performance anxiety. You've got this whole idea and you're constantly talking about sex and you really want to do this, and then all of a sudden you get in there and you can't even perform the act. And it's very difficult because it's quite traumatizing because once you do that, for the most part, unless you work at it, the next time will probably remind you of the first. So don't stress it because there are other ways to go about it. Now the next one is gender dysphoria. Now, we have a horrible relationship between ourselves and our bodies and our gender, and with it becoming so much more prevalent today. When it comes to sex, there's such a confusion that, all these complex feelings, it will manifest into gender dysphoria. It sets you at a state of unease, general dissatisfaction with your body in regards to how you're identifying with your gender. And this makes it hard for any individual to be able to feel comfortable with their body or showing their bodies to another person, especially during sex, which is an act that is so supposed to be pleasurable and sensational. These individuals or people who have gender dysphoria will tendency to abstain from sex. We don't want to do that, do we, people? Another issue may be the fact that of someone being a trauma survivor, and and this is mainly, and one of the biggest, shall I say, has to do with a woman being raped, or even a man, anybody being raped. And when it comes to that particular act, that act that's supposed to be so pleasurable and so beautiful between two people, has been tainted. So that individual will disassociate from it. So it makes it very different, because especially if somebody is sexually, has been traumatized by sexual violence, it will alter their desires. It'll alter the reality of it. And this is because somebody came and violated them. And now, every time that particular act, it was traumatizing to them. So as much as they would like to be with their partner, that will stand in the way. So really find someone that you could speak to, maybe a psychotherapist, someone who could help you through that. Or the opposite side of that is where disassociation comes in. Yes, they'll have sex with you, but they're not there with you in their mind. They are just there. You're having sex. They're going back and dissociating because they're relating it to that violent act that was put against them. So you really look into getting some help and helping yourself, because I know you love your partner and you don't want to be that way with them. You want to enjoy them fully. Now, those are the real baddies when it comes to our mind not being a little bit more into the sex. But there are ways you can work on it, and it's not always you have to go to a psychotherapist or talk to a counselor, but those are always good to have and always good to talk to. So now we're going to talk to some ways to, be better focused on sex. A lot of exercises out there, but I'm sure that everybody's heard the practice today of mindfulness, where your mind is tuned into your body and to the, all those sensations around you and the relationships, and just being able to be aware of the situation and focus into it. And generally, I will have people do is close their eyes and just focus on the sounds, of focusing on how things are happening right then and there. Because you are there to have fun. You're there to enjoy your partner. You're there to enjoy yourself. It just happens to be between either you or another person. You can do it by yourself, but that's why masturbation comes so fondly into the mix of sexual desires. Another thing is relaxation techniques. Slow and deep belly breathing, and just, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And taking in that, it relaxes you. You can, some people like to get a light snack before sex. A small massage, have your partner massage you, which will really put you into it. That, caressing your body, but you're also getting the sensation of that massage that is making you just melt. You can do this, have your partner do this, or you can do this, go out and have it done at a masseuse. And at that time, you're basically in the mood. Now the next, we always fantasize about doing it in some particular place. Having picking a place, the right place. It could be on the kitchen table. It could be up against the wall in the hallway. Just picking a place that you feel that, oh my God, you're getting that sexual turn on and it feels right. Go for it. Explore it. Do it. You like to, turn everything off, lock your doors, turn off the phone. So all it is about you and your partner in that place. It could be the bedroom. You could start on the bed and go into another area of the room and just work your way through it. It's just finding the right place, getting rid of the distractions, and working out. You gotta have that sexual workout. Remember, it's good for you. This one's really important. Respect your natural sex drive. Don't force it. Just, if you are not up to it, just get to, practice getting comfortable, turning down sex. So if you're not in the mood or just not at the moment, it's not going to work. Be comfortable expressing yourself and communicating that with your partner because it's very, very important. We need the communication. Now, we all love our foreplay, and this one is, it's giving you time to warm up so that when you're into sex and you're having sex, you're like basically ready to just burst. You just want to get to that orgasm. And if you get a quick one, then you can, come down, relax, and then go at it again and you'll be, ready for the next. But you get, wind up. You gotta go and have that foreplay, nipple play. We've talked about it. It's all part of warming up to, getting ready for sex. And we've talked about the deep breathing. Breathing helps when your mind starts to wander. So practice your deep breathing because it helps to melt your focus on the sex. We're going to take a break here. And when we come back, we're finishing up on how to be more focused during sex. So get that snack, get that cold drink, come on back, sit down, have a seat.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the Sex Podcast with your host, Andra, with a topic about sex. This is from the point of view of an older woman. Now, this is the last portion of our segment today. And we're going to finish up our ways to become more focused and then talk about little things and how they all work together. Now, our next one when we're trying to focus in on sex is very important, almost as important as communication, make eye contact with your partner. It helps to regulate, that nervous system and those nervous feelings. And it helps, which I'm sure everybody knows, it helps to make, it creates a connection between the two of you. And it's going on right then and now. It helps you to focus more on the situation and what's going on with you, your body sexually, your partner sexually, and how you're meshing together during sex. You also have to practice some empathy. Understanding how your partner feels will also help you to understand how you're feeling and to reflect on those feelings. So empathy, you're wondering about both of you and how you're feeling in the sexual moment. Take time to respond to, those sensations and pleasures or discomforts. Except for just don't sit there and lay there, because we do become complacent with that. We may be thinking that we're totally pleasured, but we're just becoming slightly complacent. Take time to accept whatever feelings happen during sex. But please do move around. Changing positions gives you different sensations. So do it. Engage different body parts. Make sounds. They always love you to call them daddy or moaning and groaning. Do it because they're good to try and express, or it also shows your partner that particular act that they're doing is very pleasurable to you. It's like a feedback system. You're giving them feedback and then knowing that you are enjoying that. So that's a really good one. So, you have those people who say, oh, you're a screamer. They like it because to them that's their feedback and they know that they're pleasuring you. So take the time to do it because it is good. It also is a form of getting relaxed too. Next one, is lean into it. It's okay. We all get distracted during sex. But be able that when your mind is wandering, don't fight it. Just notice it and, try and bring it back to the center. Bring it back to sex. Bring it back to, that act. So this way it doesn't wander too far and you lose your sexual horniness right then and there and your turn on that was going on. Because you can get totally distracted out of it and that's not going to be, your partner's not going to be happy because they don't know why all of a sudden you're wandering when they're trying to pleasure you. No. Enjoy your way of doing it, the way you like to do sex. If you like to look at porn, remember that is really just, it's choreographed sex, but it is there for our pleasure and our in the mood foreplay beforehand, getting a little horny because you see them doing something there. Let's try it. Watch porn, but just kind of sort of take that and alter it and mold it into how you would like to do it. So you may just have to practice a little bit of masturbation to know where things are. Or you can masturbate each other where you learn, you're letting, if your partner touches you here, that's great. That's, oh my God, it's a turn on. So you're doing really good, which, puts you into, the next one where you're getting familiar with your desires. Always masturbation is that number one thing when it comes to that. If you practice these things, these sexual acts to see how to pleasure yourself on your own, it is much more easier to go in and show your partner. Your partner may be in the general vicinity. You could just, pleasurably show them or tell them, "Oh, yeah, touch me there." You got to communicate. It's a big thing. Big, big thing. This is where masturbation becomes a big part of everything when it comes to sex, because you're getting more familiar with your body. You're getting more familiar with your desires, and you need to be able to communicate those. It might have been something that your partner did during sex, and you want to explore it because you want to know how you could get to an orgasm that way. So try it, and then bring it back into the sexual act. I mentioned this earlier, where it's like a lot of people like to have the lights off with sex, which is good because it could be fun. We're poking around in the dark. No pun intended, but let's go with it. Or candlelight, soft light. It's seeing each other differently from different shadows and angles, but it's also it can be fun because what you're doing is you're feeling around, and that anticipation and of finding each other and exploring each other in the dark. You don't know where each other's going to touch, and it can really help connect your senses to sex because it's fun. You might be able to go really, some people get in there and say, "Take off all your clothes right now." Other people want to go in there and take them off for you in the dark. You're playing around. You don't know what you're taking off first. For the most part you do, but for the other parts, you don't know how many layers someone's got on. Getting through those layers, mapping the body in the dark is a major turn on. And then make requests. Like I said, communication is very important. Ask, talk about it with your partner, or during it, make requests for your partner to touch a particular spot and do it either hard or slow. Because it's right then in the moment. That might not be something that you'll want to touch the next time you have sex, but right then and there, it is. So tell him, "You want him to touch your butt? Have him touch your butt. You want him to touch your feet? Have him touch your feet." It's all about all of these things and going to the right spot. If they hit a spot that just did not do anything for you, let them know and say, "That actually bothers me. At least right now it does. Maybe next time you might want to be touched there." Tell your partner, or just take their hand and put it there. And that's a turn on for your partner because you're allowing them to touch different places or to do certain things, or letting them know that them touching that particular spot is seriously working for you. And they'll really work to, work up that orgasm. But just don't let them focus too much on it, because then you get focused and centered on that you forget to take care of the rest of your body. And last, actually it is important. As much as important as communication is, be honest. Because you're not helping either one of you to focus when it comes to sex if you're not being honest with your partner. Because your partner does not know what is going on in your mind. Although you may have a syncrasy with sex, he's still not a mind reader, and you're not a mind reader. So you need to be honest. You need to, make eye contact while kissing, or, when it goes in until it goes into deep and you close your eyes. Stroking each other, feeling each other's breath. Remember, sex is a two-person, sometimes one, but if you want pleasure, feedback, we're going with the two B's here. So, be honest with each other. That is the end of my segment. And as always, practice safe sex. If not for you, for your partner. Enjoy.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.